Hey everyone, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today. I'm recording this not at 6 a.m. Pacific time, but 9 p.m. So a lot of people on the East Coast are seeing this, are wondering why they're getting a notice on their phone that a live show at 12 p.m. midnight or 12 a.m. midnight. But I got to get it in. So I promised myself to do one every Monday. And plus we have sponsors, so it's responsibility on the hook too. But this is what happens when you have a busy schedule, running different companies, and have kids. And one thing is when you tell people you're going to have kids, especially with your first one, it's the third one for me. They always say, be careful or be ready, get your sleep in because you're not going to get any sleep. And which doesn't make sense because the sleep is not something you could just store up and then use up later. It's from storage or something like that. But I already used to, I expected it. I didn't expect it this bad where I'm not sleeping at all. And you almost feel like you're dying when you don't sleep for 3 or 4 days. You really think like, am I going to die? What's going to happen? It really is torture, not sleeping at all for a couple of days. But it is what it is. There's just the sleep situation with kids. I'm sure those toolboxers who are listening that haven't know what's going on. So what they don't tell you, in addition to the sleep part, everyone tells you about sleep is when you have kids, they're gonna get sick like all the time because they play with their friends. And they get sick, and by the time they get better, they get you sick. And by the time you get better, you give your spouse sick. And then by the time your spouse gets better, they give back to the kid. So it's nonstop circle of people getting sick when you have kids. That part wasn't expected. I wasn't told about. It is beyond just COVID. COVID is actually kind of good because we were at home the whole time for the 2 years, and so we had this false sense of like not getting sick for. I'm like, oh, this is wonderful. Being quarantined for me was great. I hate getting sick. I've been working out, exercising a lot, part of my regimen. And I guess we'll just jump into like the first part of the 10 point that we took with this is a regular session. We're talking about 10 different things I learned is really taking care of yourself in different ways. And now, like, frankly, like making money and stuff like that, I got a personal trainer that comes. I have tennis, I eat better, all this kind of stuff to really take better care of yourself when you're doing this to avoid, the toll it has on your body to the extent you can for practicing a full contact sport, which is being a lawyer, especially immigration law, and deal with the agencies and the headaches and the clients and everything like that to really focus on taking care of yourself. And along with that, being prepared to have a team that can help you. And I went lone wolf. I've always been a lone wolf for all my life, which is I'm near 40 now, realizing how that bad idea that was to do everything yourself and not work with a team and all that kind of stuff. It's been such a godsend having a team members that can help me through this time. Last year this time I got stomach flu or something like that twice in last October. And I thought I had like cancer or something like that. I'm like, there's no way, because it was really bad. I had to go to the hospital so bad. And I was like, there's no way I got it back to back like this. Got to be something. And we did tests and all that. They're like, no, you got a bad virus, got unlucky. I've been good ever since then. But during that time, I just brought in new team members and my associate Anya. And not having that would have been really disastrous for clients, not having someone that could just pick up things. So, you know, I thought I didn't need anybody and just do it, keep it simple. And maybe you can if you get a really small firm, making just very few cases. But pretty soon, like it just makes sense. So keep an eye out on recruiting and having team members, especially having an associate on staff. A lot of people go one lawyer to 50 paralegals and stuff like that, which is cool if you want to do that. But having a professional that could be there that could take the reins and stuff is really important to have. So that's something to think about when you're starting your firm. So let's talk about some little intro stuff. We talk about the conference coming up. We're the all-star lineup of the best, really some of the, I got to say the best O1 attorneys in the country are speaking. This is incredible. Even if you've done O1s before, you come to ask questions. So it's not only beginners, intermediate. You have the creme de la creme, the experts that you could talk with. So it's going to be a really great time. We've made it small. There's a podcast I listen to called My First Million. And if you're interested in business stuff, it's good to listen to. One of the people, the speakers, made a whole business. He started a blog called The Hustle, which eventually created conferences and stuff. And he was saying the other day, he's like, the thing about conference is this: if you want to make a good quality conference, it has to be small so everyone gets a feel for it, but you don't make any money. But if you make it big, the quality goes down because there's just a ton of people there, but you make a ton of money. So I've done the thing that this is hurts me, which is make barely money, probably gonna be a loss, just to have it small so that it's intimate and you get a real experience of learning and a relationship with people. That's just the way I run my firm too. It's just the way I believe in. So I really want to do that. Check it out. It's gonna be in February in Los Angeles. Just go to the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox page. There's a page. You go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/conference, or the official title is postgraduate training. So I want to have a a post, we have law school, a graduate school after you graduate college. We want to have a postgraduate graduate school for law school, teaching about immigration law. That's the goal of the Toolbox. So I want to talk about like that. So Toolboxers, which is you all people listen to Toolbox. I've decided to make a name for Toolboxers because it's such a devout community, and you guys contact me and stuff, regular listeners, and tell me how much it's changed your life and how it's changed your colleagues. I get these emails every week, so it really is like amazing. So I thought we'd just have our own group of people who are dedicated to being the best immigration lawyers it could be. So that's that. Magazine's out. New issue is going to come out probably in 6 weeks or so. Check out the existing one, the current one. I think it's issue number 5. immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine. I want to thank the sponsors. DocWise.com has been so helpful supporting the and sponsoring the podcast and the magazine so much. You can get additional 10% off your annual plan by go to DocWise.com/immigration-lawyers-podcast using the code Immigration Lawyers Podcast. Excellent service. I use them regularly. Really great team over there. And they're just getting better over time. So definitely check that out. And also, we got a new sponsor. I'll talk about them a little bit later in the show, but Immigration Evaluation Directory, wonderful team over there, wonderful company to help you get the best evaluations possible, the best experts for your psychological exams, for 601s, for asylum. People know what they're doing in this area, what the government is looking for, so they can provide the best review of an applicant's psychological health that's possible. And, a lot of people are getting into immigration law, contacting me about this, wanting help. I have a course that breaks down the basics that you need to know to start an immigration law firm for marriage basis, which is really just the basics of immigration law, which is admissibility, consular processing, adjustment of status, all this kind of stuff. I have a course for you. Contact me. We have office hours, follow-ups. We have a community. That's the best part. Just follow us. So it's not just, watch a video and then you're done. It's like, how do I keep up with this? How do I ask questions? All that stuff. We have it all set up. So with that, let's go to number 2 topic that I wanted to talk about, which is an interesting thing. So it is really important, actually. We have to be able to change status in the United States. You have to essentially have an existing status. So if you had a tourist visa, it expires, and then you want to go and change status to a student visa, an L1, H1B, whatever, that's not going to work because you're out of status. You have to be maintaining the underlying status that you have there. However, sometimes you might have a case where person comes on a B1, B2, and then requests an extension of B1, B2, and after that decides to do an E2, an L1, or F1, or H1B, or something like that. And what happens, typically my policy was like not to do that because even though you have filed like an extension of status, doesn't mean you have the underlying status. So if you then file for another change of status, then that's not going to work. And I had colleagues say they've been doing this okay. Another colleague recently posted on somewhere that they had a case where they did a B1, B2 extension while it was pending. They made a change of status request for, I think, an L1 or some sort of work visa. And initially it was denied by USCIS, saying you didn't have the underlying status to be able to change status. And then he filed a lawsuit for USCIS, like delay in the process for approving the B1, B2 extension. And that delay, a government delay, caused them not to have the status they wanted. And, one thing when you do these lawsuits, they somehow miraculously cases would get reopened and approved, and that happened there. So ideally, I wouldn't want to do this to even get to that, especially filing a lawsuit. Not every client's going to want to do that. But I've had several colleagues, again, I try to avoid this situation as much as possible, but I've had several colleagues say they haven't been able to do this. Now, there is a context that pops up, and I do so many videos on this topic that I get a lot of people contacting me about it, which is when you have an asylum case pending. Like you file it while you have like a valid B1, B2. If B1, B2 expires, you have asylum pending for years, and then you file for adjustment of status. The argument is that were it not for the government delay, you would have some sort of status already. It would have been okay, this and that. But what we're seeing is almost like vast majority of USCIS officers are now denying adjustment cases if someone just has asylum pending as their immigration quote unquote status, not really status. And this matter of LK, which a lot of lawyers cite, doesn't really speak to that. It's kind of this weird, this nonsensical decision, in my opinion, that says if you have your affirmative asylum interview and it's denied, then you're out of status and you have to go to immigration court. You can't change. But that's kind of obvious. Like, yeah, at that point, there's made a decision. What if it's pending? So I'm about to sneeze and I got getting allergies. It's fall. Why would I have allergies now? I have them in spring, but somehow the last couple of days I had allergies, itchy throat, runny nose. So annoying. And so, sorry, I'm complaining a lot, but I thought it might be funnier to complain. It's like one of those joke kind of things. Okay, so let's see. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. If you really have to do it, change of status after filing extension, you might as well sue them. Prepare the client for a lawsuit that's something like that's going to be possible. Now, speaking of change of status and the headaches that exist, there's a thing where person comes on a student visa. This is number three. Comes on a student visa, and then comes on a tourist visa and decides to change status to a student visa. And the delays are incredible in these kind of cases because the F1 is just going to be pending. The change of status has been pending forever, probably over a year, many times before it's approved or whatever happens. And so in the meantime, the school has to keep pushing back your I-20. The I-20, which is the base of F1, keeps having to be. There's a terminology used for it. I forgot what it's called, but they keep extending the I-20. Now, a colleague posted, there's actually a regular writer for the Immigration Lawyers magazine, that he was doing it for a client, and the client extended the I-20 once, extended the I-20 twice, and they went to the school, extended a third time while the F1's pending, and the school said, "Oh, we have an internal rule that says we only extend it twice," which is crazy. This is ridiculous. Like, why would you do something like that? But that's possible now. And he said USCI sent an RFE, and the RFE said they want to see the same I-20 renewed, not like a new I-20 being issued. And so I'm not sure what he's going to do with that. What a nightmare scenario. I hate to tell that to the client. But who would expect the school would be doing that? I mean, it's just extend it. What difference does it make to you? You're going to get the money. So just to be prepared, I guess, if you're doing these scenarios, which for 10 years I avoided this. I just did this for the first time for a client. We had to do it. And it's still pending. It's been like 6 months now. This case pending, where we did a B1, B2 change of status. Actually, this one was like a H1B, H4 change of status. But because it was H1B, H4, I was a little more happy to do it. But typically, I wouldn't do this. But I've gotten into it. It took me so much study to figure out how to do this. Like, I got to do a course on just the intricacies of how this all works out. But be prepared for that. So I asked her to ask her school. They said, no, we're down and just keep renewing. But if you're going to do a B1 2 extension, talk with your clients to ask the school and say, not only will you issue the I-20, but will you indefinitely keep renewing it until the F1's approved? You don't want to be blindsided with some nonsense like this. So just give me a heads up on that. Number 4, from I-134, they updated this. They changed the name for it too, or maybe the name was always kind of different. So you have the I-864, which is the affidavit of support when you're doing a green card case. They have the I-134, which is Declaration of Financial Support. They updated it when they did the United for Ukraine program, but this is still used for what's it called, for the K1 fiance visa and stuff. And they made it into a 13-page thing, a lot more information, a lot more annoying. However, the note I wanted to make is they removed the social security number requirement for this. And I was talking to my associate, she was guessing maybe they removed the requirement for the social security number I-134 because so many for U4U are applying and submitting this, but at the same time they may not feel comfortable giving social security numbers, so maybe they did this to make it easier. Who knows? At the same time, maybe you submit a tax transcript which only has last 4 digits, so it's more secure. Maybe there's a way to make these sponsors feel more secure, maybe. But that was interesting. I thought I want to note that because that's just a change. That's what we're talking about. Number 5, I came across. I was provided this report, this article, research paper, written and published on the Journal of Forensic and Legal Medicine. Journal of Forensic and Legal Medicine, 84, 2021. And it's an interesting study that came out that says the purpose of this study was to investigate the impact of forensic medical evaluations on grant rates of applicants seeking immigration relief in the U.S. and to identify significant correlates of grant success. And they found that 81.6% of applicants for various forms of immigration relief were granted relief as compared to the national asylum grant of 42.4%. So among the study cohort, the majority, 73.7%, of positive outcome grants of asylum. So these are asylum cases, but their findings were that if you our findings strengthen and expand prior evidence that forensic medical evaluations can have a substantial positive impact on an applicant's immigration relief claim. So this is really important. If you're doing these asylum cases, have applicants do these medical evaluations. It really takes these to the next level to be able to show the harm and damage there, to be able to express it, to have a professional talk about it. If you can, have them come as witnesses, but at the very least, they can write reports that could be included in the application package, whether in immigration court or an affirmative filing. It's the thing to do to really support your case. And along with that, our new sponsor, Immigration Advice Directory, has trained people that are experts in these kind of things that can help you. As they said, did you know research reports psychological evaluations can increase an asylum applicant's chance of approval by 78%. Psychological evaluations are hugely beneficial in hardship, cancellation, asylum, and other types of cases. Connecting with qualified clinicians has never been easier thanks to the Immigration Evaluation Directory. Free to use, you can filter the directory by location, language, case type, and more, then review profiles and reach out. The Immigration Evaluation Directory is your one-step resource to find the best therapists to help. Explore more today at immigrationevaluationdirectory.com. I'm going to be talking with them. We'll have a separate podcast episode to talk about the kind of service they provide. But it's really great because I get clients who ask me, hey, do you know who to contact for evaluation directory and stuff? I'm like, I don't know. And I have lawyers who ask me this all the time. As a Toolbox, I get tons of questions, people emailing me, asking me questions. And I have no idea because I myself don't typically take, I haven't taken a asylum case in 10 years. So it's like, who do I recommend? And I know these people, they're the people that are part of their stamps are people who have experience and training. So it's a good place to go. And this growing directory has people all across the country that could do this because, medicine and this kind of stuff is state-based. So you need someone practicing the area a lot of time to have the proper licensing. So Immigration Evaluation Directory, great service. I'm glad it's out there. These directories are really helpful, and especially these niche ones that are really specific to needs that we have. All right, next topic, number 6, EAD renewal. So typically when you're doing I-765 EAD renewal, for me, it's usually adjustment cases. It's like you have 180 days before and you could do it. For DACA, you have 180 days. Sometimes people file sooner. It's okay. And I thought this was the case, and I was giving advice on this. And then one of my colleagues was like in the chat, and they're like, no, wait a minute. For STEM OPT, it's different. When you're doing OPT, regular OPT, the school has to give an I-20 that's designated, and the person has to file the I-765 within 30 days of the issuance of the I-20 of the EAD I-20, and they have 90 days before graduation to submit it, or up to 60 days after graduation. So there's a 120-day window. However, when we move over and we go to STEM OPT, it's different. It says you must apply within 60 days of your DSO entering the recommendation for OPT in the CVIS record or in the I-20 issuance. So they increase from 30 to 60 days. On the other hand, you may apply up to 90 days before your current OPT employment authorization expires. So the bad advice I was about to give was, you just do it 180 days early, which is, ideally you want to do the first day possible because of the delays in I-765 adjudications nowadays. But you can't do that for STEM OPT. There's a 90-day early filing window. That's different. So definitely keep that in mind. Try to get your clients. And usually we don't even handle these cases because people do on their own. But let's say you have an employer that does a lot of these. You want to advise them. You want to have these just done 90 days beforehand, or like 89th day or something like that filed. But that was a difference in application I wasn't expecting. Number 7, I want to congratulate 2 of our colleagues, David Kwong, Sue Kim, and Becca Nyberg. They're going to be immigration judges. They're starting immigration judge school today, Monday, September 26th. Great to have private practice attorneys go behind the bench. And it's a tricky thing because as private attorneys, they see the side we're on, so they're going to view things. They might be more harsh. I always say that if I was a USCIS immigration officer adjudicator at USCIS field office, I would be able to deny 99.9 cases. Like I could just find issues with it if I wanted to. So we're going to see how that all works out. But let's see. But congratulations on them. Great for them to run the private bar. So many times people become judges or ICE attorneys that go there. Or a lot of times, there's government attorneys from JAG officers out of the military that become immigration judges. Immigration is not something you just want to jump into like that. But it's good, especially David. I know personally, this guy's one of the best immigration removal defense attorneys out there. It's a huge loss to the private bar, to clients, to potential clients. But this guy was hardcore. He talks about he had a heart attack. He was working himself to death on this, and he adjusted his lifestyle. But he was a hardcore. He knew all the rules and the regulations, the statute, and the cases. He was really into it. Which, me, I love this kind of stuff. And I got to give kudos to him. Going to immigration court, study on that stuff is next level kind of study, which I don't have the energy to have. I'll stick with the policy manual and the foreign affairs manual to go into removal. I'll leave that to him and Kevin and Greg and stuff. We go really hardcore into removal defense, which requires a lot more study. But God bless him, and as well as Becca and Nyberg and the rest of colleagues, maybe ICE attorneys. It's an important role in it, and I hope the weight of that role and the importance of it and the decisions you're making with people's lives bear on your hearts, and you make the best decisions possible. And the law is the law; you got to abide by what the law is. But wish the best for all of you. God bless, and hope you're able to help the global community. Number 8, Canadian reciprocity update. So the U.S. updated the visa reciprocity chart for Canada, in particular in accordance and relative to their police certificates. And the Canadian police certificate has been a headache of mine for years now because the old visa reciprocity chart, which I had saved it here, I was going to read it, but I don't have it. The way they said the document should look like was never what the Royal Mounted Police, RPMC, whatever it is, would give me. And every time we submitted it to the National Visa Center, the embassy, I was like, oh, they're going to send this back, say it's not right. And they always accepted it, even though it was not what they wanted. They didn't have on there. And so now they updated it, and the update, it's just as unclear to me, the way they write it. And it looks like the stuff that the USS gives me is still going to be, or the Royal Mounted Canadian Police or whatever, it's still going to be the same, something that doesn't look right the way I thought it was supposed to look like. So just be aware of that. I have no idea what to do about that, but they traditionally do accept it. I think it has to be fingerprints. They said it can't be they have 2 examples of personal use that they don't want you to do, but it's writes on their personal use. And then writes on there, it's just badly written. It doesn't match what the visa reciprocity chart says, but they're accepting him, so just let it go and it happens. But be prepared for that update. Always confuses me. Number 9, F2A not moving. So, I don't deal too many with F2B cases. These are adult unmarried children of green card holders. I have 2 or 3 cases randomly, like 7 years ago. I filed their MVC time came up, and the families contact me. They're like, "What's happening?" Every time they do, I just look at the visa bulletin. I'm like, "Oh, it's not current yet," and I just wait. And then I had this case where a person filed for adjustment themselves, and like and it's been a year and it's just not occurring. So they scheduled a consultation, talk about other stuff that are popping up. And well, I guess what happened was they had their adjustment interview, wasn't current, and the National Visa Center sent them a letter saying we're gonna cancel your case because you haven't contacted within 1 year. And he's like, what do they mean? I filed for adjustment of status. Why is this the case? I guess this goes into a twofer right here. One is if you had a case that started the National Visa Center and you did adjustment of status, you definitely need to notify the MVC in writing, have the client sign something that say we're going to do adjustment of status after you get the I-485 receipts, what I usually do. But this person filed pro se, and so we're dealing with that with the MVC. Just to give you a heads up, not to let the MVC cancel the case or something like that. Because another colleague posted on some listserv, they said the person got their green card 3 years ago, and the MVC then canceled the case, and USCI is trying to rescind now. Like, what do you mean this case is done? What in the world's going on? So prepare for that. But I just noticed F2B hasn't moved in a year. What in the world's going on there? So he's like, any word on what's going to happen with F2B? It's been stuck in a year. And this guy is like, his priority is like a week after the start date. It hasn't moved. I checked last year's October visa bulletin to the same date. I'm like, wow, I supposed to pay attention because I don't deal with this too much. Usually I do F2A, and I always look to make sure, marriage to a green card is current. That's what I deal with, and that's about it. So, so yeah, just a wild situation. Prepare for that kind of stuff. And then number 10, getting away from the law stuff per se, but just business management. It feels like the economy is changing. It might just be a fluke, but this September was a slow month for me. And what happened was we've got more leads coming in than ever before, which is interesting. The marketing I'm doing is working. People are contacting me like double the amount I've ever had. So I'm like, oh, wow, this month's going to be great. But the conversion from leads to paid consultation dropped dramatically. And the ones that did schedule consultations all wanted payment plans. And all like at first they will do it. No, we had a couple that said we're doing send the contract, and then they're like it's too expensive. We found like something a bit cheaper, just gonna do it ourselves. So this was a break that hit because I never had this problem. I was expecting a stellar month with the amount of leads I got, but it may be something that's happening in the economy where almost every case is asking for payment plans. And my way I did law firming or my ran my law firm is based on how I learned is which is. Get all the money ahead of time. Everything is paid to start. No payment plans, nothing. And I usually don't accept credit cards. Either just pay cash or Zelle, whatever, and send me a check. And don't even bother with having these kind of systems. And I started doing payment plans recently, and because it's so unofficial, it's just so annoying to keep track of it. I don't know what's going on, people's paying stuff. I got to get a better system or invoicing for that kind of stuff. But that's a thing that's popped up. I'm not sure if it's happening to your firm or not. Let me know. Email me. I'm going to share your firm information. I know it's private, but let me know and see if that's happened to y'all too. It was is unexpected, especially again with the amount of leads we're getting. We're like doing a sick amount of marketing. The leads we're getting are great. These people are great marriage cases. It seem like open and shut cases. So that's something to see. We'll see if it continues. But that just may be the situation, the economy finally coming and hitting us, how we're doing. I thought if I just up the marketing and get them more leads, it'll make it up for it, and it hasn't. This is the case where we're not converting, so we have to work on different ways on adjusting prices. Maybe if this continues for another 2 or 3 months, when it comes to consultation fees or different kind of fees, and setting up systems to better help people. To it's realistic. We got to adjust with the times. But we'll see if that happens in October, in November, if that's the case. But email me, let me know if that's happening in your firm. You're seeing any differences as well. It was a shock to me. But having said that, I want to thank everybody for watching. Definitely RSVP for the conference. Learn how to do an O1 case. This is going to be a tremendous thing. If you're already doing O1s, come here, get great mentorship, get peers, have a good time in Los Angeles. It's a lot about networking and relationships as well. That's what we're going to be focused on, like importantly, because that's such an important part of life. I talked about in the first bullet point. I talked about being the lone wolf as opposed to working with a team and having connections, stuff like that. It was a failure on my part, spending so much of my life as a lone wolf, and I'm going to make sure I teach my kids. In the mornings, my job at school, I'd say, okay, always remember teamwork, work together, help each other. It was a missing part of my life that could have boosted me. So hopefully I'll help them and help you all by focusing on that, especially if you're starting your firm. Even if you're not, I feel like me, 10, 12 years into it, just realizing this, it's much better working with a team. It's hard finding a team, hard finding partners, hard finding people that help you. But just because something's hard to do doesn't mean it's not worth doing. With that, God bless everyone. Be safe, and we'll talk soon. Oh yeah, if you can, like and subscribe, and also on iTunes stuff, leave a good review, get more stars, we'll get more attention on this. Till next month, bye bye.